Find this. Okay.
It's right in the middle of this this lower paragraph, and the line begins with Kmei Aderech Moshe. Okay. See, this is a little liberty I take when it's in my house. I'll take on a jacket. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu
Rabbi Paltiel.
Yeah.
I just want to know if somebody could give Akiva a big hug and a kiss for me.
Sure. We'll share it.
Okay.
Avram just delivered.
Okay, good.
Oh, yes. Remote control.
Wasn't control. He just gave the idea. She already had. Control. Yeah, that idea. So.
Yeah. So we discuss the principle of shame, a name. And we say that oir and shame hu inyan echad is one inyan. And here we are forced to understand what this is. Oil b'shem is one inyan. How is it one inyan? What does it mean it's one inyan? That it's meant for us to understand the principle of oil and shame. How does that help us to understand it? So we were repeating many times recently that oir is present exclusively in an atzmi. Oir is not as you would make it to be. It's energy created by some kind of a combustion or some kind of heat. Oil is a reflection of an atzmi. And it's very difficult to conceptualize an atzmi. It's completely out of this world, but the Rebbe created atzmi. And the demonstration of that is in the human being himself. The human presence in the world versus the animal presence in the world is completely day and night, totally different concepts. The animal's presence in the world is identified exclusively by the fact that it's roaming the field, it's there. It happens to be there. There is not an element to say, oh, this belongs to this element, to this animal, don't trespass. Even though in today's mentality that also exists. But that's a concocted reality. A human being, he was given by his creator, by the creator of the world, the right of being in the world. And the right of using the world. Not only the right, the obligation and the mandate. To claim it. That's what it amounts to. Now, what's a result of that? The result of that is, this is where we see the Inyan from Oyer. Because that the human presence in the world is on that essential level, therefore, his presence is felt without him making it felt. Like we say, you own your home, and every last corner of the home, without visiting that corner, without touching it. It's an interesting halacha that if I have a field in New York and I have a field in Chicago, I have a house in New York and I have a house in Chicago, and I want to sell to you both of these houses. If you make a kinyan in the house in New York with the intent that by my say so that now the house in Chicago should also become yours, it also becomes yours. And the expression in the Gemara explaining this halacha is sadno di'aro chadho. That the base of the earth, the circle of the earth is one thing. If you're here, you're also here. We speak about this all the time. But this is halacha that simply expresses this principle.
What's the point here that his kinyan, which was done in one place, affects ownership somewhere else?
Yep.
Okay.
And what's the point in this is that a person is everywhere where he wants to be. Not physically, but by his oil, by his presence, by his reality. He can do an act here in New York and have an effect in Chicago. It's hard for us, our a mentality with which we live, to understand this. But we understand it despite the experience that we have in the world. Because that's inherent in the human being. As demonstrated by this simple illustration, that in your home, nobody can move into your home, even if it be an attic or a lower basement. You're there. How? You have an essential mandate to own property by God. So therefore, if you own this property api halacha, God substantiates that it is yours. How does God substantiate? Not by godly power, because God is the boss. Because it's His. That's the reality of the world. And we have a motion for this on a small scale, but also demonstrates that this is something which I've tried it on many people, every instances, that to be an invited guest is incomparable to be an uninvited guest. An invited guest gives you a presence. That's what's essential. That's a completely different level of presence. As a result of the fact that a human being has this kind of a presence, every human being has a name. Let's think about a name for a moment. What is a name? A name is a means to refer to a person without seeing him, without hearing him, without touching him. He's on the other side of the world, but I'm referring to that person by his name. He is in Chicago, but he's present here. And I talk about him by name. His presence is here also.
Oh, so here the name is pointing to the essential identity, rather than any kind of way of indicating a person, differentiating. It's like
essential identity as being present everywhere, because he has an essential presence. Therefore, his identity can be referred to from anywhere. Everyone understands that a human being has a name. Lahavdil, an animal does not have a name in the real sense of the word.
Right. Now, something like a mountain just has a name and can be referred to from wherever a person is.
A mountain does not have a name. A mountain has a means of reference.
Oh, okay.
Do we sense this principle? This is the principle of oir. As I say, oir and shem al inyan echad. A person has a name because of his essential truth, and because of his essential truth, he has oir. He has a presence beyond his physical limits of a presence.
You think that the animal's presence where it's not present, it's just not present.
That's right.
I mean, there is no significance of it. There is no significance to it where it's not.
There's no significance to it or to anything else.
Alright, I'm just taking it as an example.
What's the point?
I'm trying to understand the
That's
difference.
exactly what I'm saying. It exists where it exists because by its person, by its physical presence,
Right.
not by its significance.
So therefore, where it's physically not present is not significant.
Right.
So just like or is to Atzmus, so the name is to the essential neshama that's given to the person.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Inyan Echad.
Yeah. The Inyan Echad is the fact that a person has a name. It makes sense to give him a name. It's not just a point of reference, a means of reference. When we name a baby by a secretary or by a breeze, it's a significant, active action.
It's like the Bechinas Or.
Mm-hmm. The baby is real and has a place, and so to speak, it's right in the world, and that's why you name it. A baby, a 1 day old baby, God forbid if it occurs, can inherit a fortune. I think it's clear. And this is an allusion to the principle of etzem. And as we explained this morning and explained again and again, the atzmius of anything in the world is due to the fact that the world is a creation of God. There's no other aspect in the world but for the fact that it was created by God. Therefore, that value that God assigned to it, that its real value. Human value God assigned by saying, this is your world. And nothing can change it possibly. Nothing can take it away from you. They have a godly mandate to be here and to represent me, and that's it. That's it. Pardon me. This is why we always speak about that self-respect is not the stupid self-respect when the psychologist is talking about. Self-respect is respecting your creator, recognizing your duty in the world, your place in the world. I think we'll leave that at this point. Okay. All right. Okay, let's go inside now. וכנוידע דאיר ושם הם הקל עניין אחד. והרי שם הוא גם כן האורה בלבד. Since that shame, a name, is also a ha'ora bilvad, is also only a ha'ora. And I'd like if we should understand this. Shame, a name, is something which is given to the person outside. So it's a ha'ora of what? The explanation is the ha'ora is not the name, the ha'ora is the fact that he has to have a name. And he has a name because of the principle that his presence here has a certain reality. Therefore he has a name. As for example, the name of a person. The name of the person, this is not the etzem hanshama, this is not the very essence of the neshama, and not the very chayus that from the neshama that comes into the guf. Kiyim ha'ros elevad. It is only the ha'ora of the etzem of the neshama and the chayus. Become became. Yeah.
This
What?
this name though is not a it's not like a random signifier. Even though it's not it itself is not the etzem, yet we say that it's like the finavur that this person landed up with that name.
Yeah. But what is the meaning that the person ended up with this name, and that this name represents his chayus, represents the person? You call the person by name, you're calling the person. Not a reference, you're calling the person. Because the chayus of the neshama, it connects and relates to the goof of the person via this name. And therefore the name actually represents the reality of the person in the world. But it's not the chayes itself, it's only the ha'ora. In other words, the effect, the fact that the nefesh can give chayes to the goof, that aspect is called, this is the name. This is why it's called the ha'ora levad. Because this is not the nefesh itself, it is the ability of the nefesh to give a chayah the goof.
It's the functional
The
part.
functional aspect of nefesh. And the nefesh is reflected in the goof.
And that's why ha'ara is it's a reflection. That's
Right. And that is the name. Okay, let's go back to our discussion a moment ago. I'd like to connect all the ends over here. Why does this connection to Neshama with the group have a name?
They say, they say so people can call him. So it's for the people, around for the environment.
No.
Not for, the name is not for the person himself. That's what I heard.
Yeah, but it's a ha'ara of the person.
Uh-huh.
How is it a ha'ara? Why does it have a name?
What you asking why the person has a name?
Why this Indian that the neshama is mislabish in the group, the chayes and neshama in the group has a name?
Uh-huh.
Let you think for 10 seconds. It has a name because the neshama being mislabish in the group has an essential value. There's an essential principle. There's an etzem deki inyan in this. The neshama came down in the group for a purpose. To make a person.
Why does that come to, this fact come to name?
Name okay, here's the thing, I'll explain it. Name refers to something real. Let me explain to you. An apple has many qualities. It's sweet, it's juicy, it's nourishing. But the word apple refers to what?
To the whole thing.
To the whole thing, to the reality of the apple. Not to any of its qualities per se. This reality of the apple supersedes all the reality, includes all the reality, and it's higher than it. This is I said many times. The apple has, along with its qualities, it has beauty. It has a royal presence. Because it is a royal statement that the apple should be. It is glorifying the world. This is not just nourishing, this is not just some kind of concoction of food. It's a statement that this is a real world, and the creator of the world is there, and it provides for the nourishment of all his creatures. That's what the apple is. And that's why it has a name. The name, therefore, is referring to the reality of his presence, not to the functionality of his presence. It has function. The reason it has function is because there's a reality in the world. Have you with me?
It has function because there's reality in the world.
Right. If I invite you to be my guest and I give you food, and there is people coming in and they're eating the food without being invited, what's the difference? The food that's given to you as a guest is a serving. It's not just food. It's presented in a certain way. It's presented in a respectable manner, recognizing your presence. Not recognizing your hunger or your thirst. When you come in as a guest at the chasana, you eat because you're hungry or because you're a guest at the chasana. You understand the difference? That's a reality. That's a name. That's what a name is.
reality, when you use the word reality referring to the world, you're referring to its significance? Or
Yes, I'm referring to the fact that the world is a godly creation. It's not an evolutionary process coming from nowhere and going nowhere.
So Apple, the name Apple is fitting for this world,
Right?
a world that's
But God created.
What's the Chakal Tapuchim when you say in the Shabbos
Hakal Tapuch in Kaddishin.
the Kling edition?
Yeah? Hakal Tapuch in Kaddishin. This is Gan Eden.
This is Ganel.
All right. I hope that the principle of oir and name is coming somewhat to the surface.
so the person is the neshama in the goof is a real thing, and therefore it
That's a
warrants a name. The neshama itself we don't give a name.
The neshama itself is above name. Name refers to oir, to the functional element, to gili of the neshama. But that gili is real. What gili is real? An intended gili. A gili that has an essential value. Right? Okay. So the name refers to the ha'ora of the chayes nefesh, not the chayes and etzem ha'chayes itself. The ha'ora means how the chayes is mislavish in the goof and gives chayes to the goof. V'hinei, b'shem ha'odom, in the name of the person, yesh chiluk. There is a difference between Yachzus Hashem l'gabe yatzmei. In the relationship between the name towards himself. Hare. In other words, there is a certain Yachzus Hashem l'gabe yatzmei. Hare, therefore we see it like this. Hagam she'enoi etzem mehusay. That although the name is not the very essence of his presence, kim ha'ora kanal, it's only ha'ora. Im kol zeh, yet still, einoi yochel livshit esatzim im ha'ora zu. He cannot divest himself from this ha'ora. He cannot remove this ha'ora from himself. It's only a ha'ora from the nefesh. But he cannot free himself of that ha'ora. Omnom, let's see what the point is. Omnom, however, Kriyas Shmoi Aleze Inyan, Aleze Chayfetz. When his name is applied to some object, K'moi Beis, as a house, a soda, or a field, Shenikru Aleyam, where his name is applied and is called on this is his house, this is his field. Therefore, this name is applied to this house and this field. There, There he is able to remove that name from the field and from the house. When he sells it. When he sells this field to someone else, then he can remove the name from that. Then his name is removed from that field. Okay, now we have to really be sensitive to what we are saying. But this seems to be like a joke. Right? It was his, it's not here, that's why his name is removed from it. What we explained, that ownership of a property is a reality.
What? So therefore, you may think it cannot be transferred. What?
Therefore, it's not may think. Therefore, when you say that you can remove the name from it, there is a real change happening. It's not only a functional element. It's a real change happening. This field was his. And at that point, if you enter this field and you transgress a prohibition, not because you're affecting him, you're displacing him, you don't let him do his thing. In reality, you're trespassing on somebody's property. You're doing a double. It's us.
The point is here that there's a reality that changes that then shows itself functionally. I mean,
right. The whole time you're talking about ownership of property, and we explained how we see that ownership has some kind of a deep significance. It's representative of the essential truth of a person's presence in the world. And this is how he can own, and this is how his name was applied to this house.
okay, right. And what's being added here?
And then he sells a house,
Yeah.
and the name is removed from the house. This is not merely a reference, a real change.
Is this adding something new to our understanding of etzem and ownership, or is this reiterating, saying it again in a different way?
No. It's discussing the principle of a name. A name is an external thing, is a ha'ara levat. It's a ha'ara wherever you touch it, wherever you meet it, it's a ha'ara. But there's a difference in this ha'ara itself. This ha'ara, as applied to the person, the name that person, you are named such and such, that name as applied to you is a ha'ara. But that ha'ara has a much greater presence, relationship to you, than that same ha'ara as applied to your property.
Oh. So with regards to oneself, it cannot be altered. Regarding the
It
property,
cannot be removed. Yeah, property
it can
removed.
be a transition of time.
You can sell the property and become somebody else's.
Okay, and that's not self-evident. Like you said, is this some kind of...
Okay, I'm saying, it's, okay, please understand the following. It's self-evident in our shallow view of life, of the world. And here's where the difficulty that we are facing. In the world, and we are used to it, thinking of it this way, the whole principle of ownership is a convention. Do you understand what I mean by convention?
Mm-hmm.
It's not real. We agreed. You have this problem, I have this problem.
Mm.
There's nothing real about it. But that's not the case. From a God's perspective. God gave the world to human beings. And if you own property, you own the property. By godly mandate.
Seems like right, a slight difference, but it makes a huge, has a lot of ramifications.
Right.
So you're saying that's not as, so to speak, dynamic as. the
I'm sorry, there's a spoon here.
There's one.
There's one inside.
There's one inside.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
So it's not as, so to speak, as dynamic as the neshama being as mislavish in the goof. This which gets a name. The goof. This.
Oh, that's what we are saying. It's not as real as the ha'ara, the neshama connected to the goof. Both are a name. Both are merely a name, a ha'ara. But the ha'ara, as it is, applies to the person himself, the neshama himself in the goof. And this same ha'ara, as it applies to his property ownership, is not equal.
It sounds like it has to do with the reality of what person being in general, like just total being, like neshama beguf, that is neshama in life and the guf, and significance of that being, of the human being, versus his functioning in the world, like owning property, for example, or doing something else. It's not the same. It's not the same. Paramount significance to that to him owning the field versus him being in the world. Sounds like it.
Well, that's fine. The point is, okay, it's true absolutely, but that might help you understand what he's trying to say. We have to try to follow the Rebbe's presentation here.
Rabbi Paltiel?
Yes.
This is all coming as a continuation. This is coming from, who was it? Where is it? It's in Pirkei Eliezer, Hu Shmoy Levad, right?
Yeah.
And that's coming as a hemshech to explain, to follow in on Oyer, Etzem Oyer and Hispashtus Oyer?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so this will be developed. It behooves. I know we have all kinds of different thoughts, and the primary difference is because we don't conceive that ownership is of any significance. As much as we talk about it, when you think about it, yes, of course it's significant. And I give you the example: you can't come into my attic without my permission. Then it makes sense. It only makes sense. We don't sense the reality of this. We don't sense that the reason it makes sense is because that's a godly mandate in the world.
We sense that it makes sense, but we don't sense the reality of it.
Right.
No, if we were Torah oriented and we listened to what the Rebbe Rashav just said, it would shake us.
Yeah, it would open up a sense of reality. You know, this comes to the fore. I mentioned last time when it comes to having an esrog. By esrog, the Torah says, the esrog has to be owned by you. And we have a whole problem. How do you know? How can you be guaranteed that you really own the esrog? Because if the property from which you cut the esrog was transferred from hand to hand illegally, by gzela, not volitionally, then the esrog is a gozel. Esrog gozel is possible. And it can take years and generations. This reality, the Eibusha gave the world, that's what we have to, and you know, it's great, it's a money bangling by thought, But at the same time, it puts you, each one of us, in the forefront of the Rebbe's world. Sense of responsibility, sense of representation. If the apple represents God in the world, how much does Akiva represent God in the world? Or Avraham, for that matter. You understand what I'm saying? Rami first, of course. He gives one bang, he says, I'm here.
That Rami likes an apple.
What?
That Rami likes an apple.
That's an apple. You learn the Shulchan Aruch. Koved HaBriyos is extremely important, halachically. Has many different ramifications, many different practical requirements. Why? You're concerned about the Briyos? Because they're Briyos, they're creatures, they're creations. A creation has a creator. And here we are discussing, we're talking about it all the time, and here you have Mamash, such a powerful statement right here. On this exact issue. If you would say that ownership of property is a convention, so what is there of playing game over here with us? We can agree and disagree. What is this about?
But if you know it's not a convention, then isn't this also self-evident?
Yes, it's self-evident. It's not saying something that's not evident, but we're making a point of significance. He's trying to explain to you various aspects in Oir, in Ha'ora. And he's giving you this as a mashal. It's a very vivid mashal. But it's a mashal to a real thing.
But this I don't want. We should enjoy what the Rebbe Rashab is saying. That this brings it to mind what the Rebbe Rashab is teaching us, that the aura all maintains the tzelem.
That's right. Eventually we'll come to that. That's right, exactly right. But it's all based on this principal truth.
And nonetheless, you can transfer it.
There are different levels, so they say there's a difference. Even though it's a ha'ara of the earth, but in ha'ara there are different relationships from the ha'ara to the etzem on different levels. For us, it's extremely significant to see how Torah looks at the world, how Torah looks at us. You go out and you labor to have parnos. So you say, what's the motivation behind it? Because I need parnos, I need to pay my bills. when you look going out to go parnosa, you're a shliach for the Meibush when you create it to have to support yourself. And that's why when you ask for it, the Meibush gives you the bracha. Because you're fulfilling his shlichus. To maintain Koved Abris, to maintain the real thing in the world. That's the translation of this thing, on a very simple, significant level to us. That's why giving tzedakah is of such tremendous significance. It's not just, fighting your own Yetzer Hara, and it's not just the Rahmanas on the person. You're actually carrying out an act that the Eibishter has to do.
I'm sorry, an act that what?
That the Eibishter has to do.
Has to do or asked to do?
He has to do it, and he asks you to do it for him. He gives you the privilege. All right, this will be it for this evening.
This is
Your stress on this last
Shabbos
point
to
is...
bring you on Thursday nights.
I'm saying what?
Paltiel?
Yeah.
Your stress on this last point is that it's not just a sort of human moral act, it's a godly act.
Right, it's not just a conventional. That's something I'd understood on our worldly level. Rabbi Akiva said that we had a Fabrengen Thursday night. Every time you open a Sefer Chassidus, you are Fabrengen. Hopefully you'll see how it talks to you, then you'll be Fabrengen. That's what Fabrengen
Yeah.